Spotlight with Shadow, a Canadian dad who's got his finger on the pulse of global entertainment and sports. Each episode features unfiltered conversations with everyday creatives, musicians, wrestlers, filmmakers, and more from every corner of the globe. No fluff, just raw, real stories. This is Spotlight with Shadow, presented by Off the Top Media.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Spotlight with Shadow. Tonight, my guest is former MLW World Champion, the Suplex Assassin himself, Alex Kane. How are you doing, my guy?
I'm feeling the effects of last night in Atlanta. Had a fun night, but a rough night all at the same time. So I'm definitely feeling it. But I'm alive, so we're good.
Yeah, I heard a legend showed up last night at the event.
Yeah, man. JBL pulled up and assaulted my friend Thomas. I don't appreciate it, and I do plan to get my get back.
That is a big get back there, and that man's got a nasty clothesline. But if anybody can take it, I think it's you, and show him a good time. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I'm gonna give it right back.
I mean, I can't wait to see that. So I got a couple questions. Growing up, what was it like? Like, what started your love for pro wrestling?
Man, let me see. My very first interaction with professional wrestling was a VHS tape. It was called Stone Cold's Demolition. I think I'd seen like wrestling a few times on TV, but I didn't really know what was going on. And I was more focused on the pyrotechnics and the stages and stuff like that. But when I initially saw this VHS, I mean, to have your introduction be Stone Cold Steve Austin, I think it's probably the best way to jump into professional wrestling because he's so cool, and like he's what every man wants to be or wants to beat up their boss and raise hell. So I watched that for a long time, and then I discovered that it was actually on TV. So I would catch it when I could because most of the time you had to go to bed.
Right.
I found my way into, the action figures and stuff. My mom bought me like several rings, a bunch of wrestlers or whatever, and I would do like little toy shows and stuff like that here and there. But like the match that made me want to become a professional wrestler was Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker for the Undisputed title on Raw. Just watching, Jeff Hardy and how, he connected with the crowd and just how cool Jeff Hardy was altogether. I told my dad, because I was watching it with him, I was like, this is what I want to do with my life.
That's Hardy and Taker. That was 03, I believe,
Yeah.
04-ish. Yeah, that was a great match. I mean, that's what solidified Jeff kind of in that role.
Mm-hmm.
So Stone Cold would be someone you first idolized growing up then?
Yeah.
All right. So as we lead out of the Attitude Era into the Ruthless Aggression Era, did you pick up more on it? Did you fade out of it?
No, I stayed in it as far as the Ruthless Aggression Era goes. I loved Randy Orton. Kind of earlier on in Evolution and kind of his rise in Evolution. That's when I discovered Shelton Benjamin. Who else? Batista. Guys like that. Those are the guys that kept me around. And then also just like all the shenanigans that would happen on the show was always fun. John Cena was another one when he was the Doctor of Thugonomics. I really, really enjoyed that character as well.
Fair. So besides wrestling, like what was your day-to-day growing up experience? Like, were you a football player, basketball player, hockey player?
Yeah, I played football. I did wrestling. I did track for a little bit. I did rugby. I did rugby and wrestling in college. So yeah, I was a pretty like active, rambunctious kid.
So naturally, if you played like rugby and stuff, naturally your next progression, if you're not going professional in rugby, is wrestling, just because of the rough and toughness to it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like after seeing that match with Jeff Hardy, like I wanted to be a professional wrestler, but like I didn't know how viable it was, and then also I didn't know like exactly how to get started. Like, yeah, there's wrestling school, but like, how do you get into a wrestling school? And I also kind of wanted to focus on, give the education, the higher education thing, a proper go, because I was school, even though I was a good student, school wasn't my thing. So like, but I wanted to give it that go or whatever. So I think after school, I was like, you know what, it's either now or never on the pro wrestling thing. You know, if I'm good at it, I'll stick with it. If I suck at it, I'll let it go and be a normal human being. I just happen to be really good at it.
I mean, from the stuff I've seen of you, you are a really good athlete, and we love watching you here and off the top. Okay, so what school did you train at originally that got you going? 'Cause I don't know if you trained at multiple or not, but like, what's the school that got you in?
The WWA 4, AEW Superstar School, AR Fox. That is the school that I trained at. I've trained with, a few people or whatever here and there, like a Darian Bankston, who I train with now. I got to train with AJ Styles for a little bit. That was a cool experience. But yeah, mainly AR Fox. Taught me just about everything I know.
Okay. Now, I know that you've wrestled like Matt Cardona, Jacob Fatu, Hammerstone. What are those experiences like for you, trying to cut your teeth going big here?
Most of those experiences are actually pretty positive. I mean, going into those matches, like I wasn't under the impression like, oh, okay, this guy's Hammerstone or it's Jacob Fatu or it's Matt Cardona. Like what, there was no nervousness going into these matches because in my mind I am their equal. Like we are on the same level. You may make more money than me and Matt Cardona, but as far as for a wrestling ability, we are on the same level. So like it was definitely like a fun opportunity. And I definitely learned, a good bit from all of those matches. But it wasn't like oh my God, like I'm wrestling this guy or whatever. It wasn't anything like that.
That was my next question: is if you ever get starstruck by anybody that you come across, but you just kind of put them right to rest real quick there.
Yeah. Fox. So before the pandemic, there was a promotion called Evolve, and they would bring in WWE guys all the time, to wrestle the talent. And Fox always tried to instill in us that you could be working with these guys one day. These guys are your colleagues. Like, don't like you can be a mark sometimes, but like when the red light's on, like it's business. So you guys are just colleagues. And that's kind of stuck with me. So like even though I'm in locker rooms with the last time we were in Atlanta, I was in there with Teddy Long and Mark Henry, and then this last show, C.W. Anderson, Bobby Fish, Matt Riddle, JBL, guys like this, like I'm not looking at them as like they're like up here or whatever. I'm like, we're here in the same locker room. We're on the same level. Like I recognize all your talent and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you're just a guy just like me.
Right, like you're on the up, they're on the respectfully on the way back down, but you're on the way up. It's kind of just the way I would say that.
No, not so much that. Because I mean, even all of those guys are still technically on and up since they're still active.
Fair.
They're still getting booked. So it's not even that fact that I'm on and up and they're on the down, they're down or anything like that. It's just like you put your pants on the same way everybody else puts their pants on. Unless you jump into your pants both feet at one time, that's crazy, mad impressive. But most people put their pants on one leg at a time. So like you're still just a human being. You just for like a Matt Riddle Matt Riddle grinded on the independents, but like he's in WWE for a long time. AJ Francis was another one. Like I had this conversation with like me and AJ have actually been wrestling about the same time. He just had a faster way up with WWE. So like again, like I'm not looking at any of these guys like they are like leagues ahead of me or whatever, anything like that. But like there is something to be learned from each of these opportunities.
You know what? I love that mindset. I think a lot of wrestlers could take away from that in a positive way, because like at the end of the day, you are right. We're all humans. You're no different than I am. You're just cutting through the same way I am. And I respect that. And I've never really had a conversation where someone's put it in that perspective. So I really appreciate that. Now I am under the impression I've done some study research on you. You became the first openly gay MLW World Heavyweight Champion.
Openly bisexual, but you know, gay. It's I told my wife I'm half gay, so I guess there's that. But yeah, the first ever LGBTQ MLW World Champion. And like stuff like that is just like really, really sick to me. Like, sick as in good, because some people might say sick. Like,
Yeah, a trend setting's good, but not a bad way.
Trend setting good. Like, that's history. That's just no one can take that from me. I hope that other people within the community see that, other wrestlers in the community see that, and like they are inspired by that, and like they believe that they could do that one day.
Yeah, that's an incredible feat to have, especially under your belt. Not only that, you're a big advocate for obviously the LGBTQ and stuff like that. So like to be able to say, yeah, I'm openly the way I am, and I'm here for everybody, right? And I think that's huge, especially in today's world with the way the world is so nasty. It's good to see positivity in that sense. So you had 6 title defenses as MLW champion.
World champion. We always got to put the world in there.
World heavyweight champion.
People like to leave off the world, and I feel like it's a little disrespectful. Not you, but some people.
I apologize. I'm just going off my clip notes. I apologize. So how did that feel defending it 6 times? I mean, it was almost 9-month run.
Yeah. It was dope for me because I remember it was either after I won it or before I won it, but like I knew what was going to happen. I told Court that I didn't care about having 1,000 opponents and just having banger matches for the sake of having banger matches. I wanted to tell stories, and every single one of my title defenses had some kind of story to it. I think the overall arching story was Bomaye versus WTF, but that's what I wanted, and that's what he gave to me. And I feel like with telling all of those stories with all of those different wrestlers, all those different wrestlers in MLW, I feel like my reign had more of an impact than it would have had if it was just having matches and like one like major story.
Yeah, it's no point in drawing it out if you can have multiple put over yourself and multiple people in that process, especially with storytelling nowadays where a lot of people are too hesitant to get to the finish line when there's a story to be told.
Yeah.
You were also Action World Champion as well.
Mm-hmm.
That was a 4 or 5 month reign, 5 defenses. How'd that feel? Same kind of thing as MLW?
Yeah. I wish I would have had more defenses or more story defenses. I feel like that reign, even though it was about 4 or 5 months, I do feel like it was rushed. I do feel like it was rushed. Like it was just like, okay, here you go, Alex. You can be Action World Champion or whatever. But like there wasn't a whole lot of thought put into it.
So the Bomaye Fight Club, where does that come from? I'd love an explanation from the man himself.
So Bomaye means finish him, kill him. It was used in Japan by Shinsuke Nakamura, but I believe the origins start with Muhammad Ali, in the Rumble in the Jungle in the Republic of Congo. I believe it's Signalese. That's the origins of Bomaye. But they would the Congolese people would chant Ali Bomaye, which means Ali finish him, Ali kill him. And we came up with that after leaving American Top Team, and all of that shit that happened. King Mo left, Dan Lambert left, or whatever. So I needed my own, fight team. And it's essentially just started as, a faction for me to have, or a faction name for me to have, a team for me to have. And over time, growing as a character and growing as a human being, it evolved into what it is today, which is Bomaye is for the people. I'm heavily influenced by, guys like Fred Hampton, Huey P. Newton, the Black Panther Party. Um, so like, I wanted, I didn't want to be like people would sometimes try to compare us to the Nation of Domination, but when you look at it, the Nation of Domination was the Nation of Islam, respectively. They weren't really the Black Panthers or whatever, because Farouk was essentially Louis Farrakhan. So I wanted more of a like Black Panther Rainbow Coalition feel to it. Like, yeah, this is a mostly all Black group, but like we're not discriminating against anybody, and we're not excluding anybody or whatever. This is for everybody. And I feel like it's been received very, very well.
I've heard your name for quite a while. The first inclination I've actually picked up of watching your stuff, and I would be from Twitter when you were feuding with AJ Francis.
Mm-hmm.
And that story, I don't know how many times I'd see what you would say back and like, oh shit, like, man, just being you, it seems like you're authentically you. You're not just portraying this is you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yes,
hard
exactly.
sometimes to depict that day-to-day Alex from the character Alex, or is this just you turned up to 20?
Yeah, it's just me turned up to 20 or turned up to like 30, honestly. But yeah, I'm essentially just being myself and like a more turned up version of myself. So I don't necessarily have to worry about like turning it off when I get home or anything like that, because like early on in my career, before I even actually had like a character, like the basis of the whole Alex Kane thing was the Suplex Assassin. Where is the Suplex Assassin? So like I kind of taught myself how to turn that on when it was time to go, and then once I walk back to the curtain, turn it off or whatever, and I'm back to being myself. So now it's now it's like second nature. Like, hear the music, it's time to go. Hear the bell, okay, we're hear the bell. There's no shenanigans. We're going right back to the back. All right, we're back to being my normal self.
Do you feel like people you've shared a locker room sometimes have a problem with that, with disassociating the
Yes.
character from the person?
Well, I thought you were asking a different question, but I'll answer both. Yeah, some people do have an issue dissociating from the character and the person. I feel like that's where a lot of guys mess up, because like, yeah, like I always tell young guys, don't take yourself too serious. Like when you're in the locker room, just be cool. Like, talk to people, get to know people and stuff like that. Only time you need to be in character is in front of those people. When you're wrestling or maybe when you're selling merch, if that's what you like to do. But like when you're backstage, just be yourself. Don't be a dickhead. And then also, because, and the other part of the question that I thought you were asking, but I'm gonna answer it anyway, is some people that don't have characters, because like me on Twitter, that's still me in character or whatever. Like me and my character, me and my persona, or just me being myself. Like, I believe characters are complex. They have, views on the world. They have views on things going on around them. They exist in the world that we live in. It's not just wrestling. So like everything that I put out on social media is character work. That's where I file it all. Um, and like a lot of people don't get that. They don't want to like go back and forth on social media. They don't want to, stir up anything online. They just want to, do everything on screen or do everything in the match. And I'm just like, we're missing something here, because like when I first started wrestling, I thought that, Twitter would be like the place where people were building these feuds and building these matches, along with cutting promos and stuff if you're on a television product or, for whatever promotion you're working for. And some very seldom, some guys get that, and then other guys don't. And those guys that don't, they take it personally. And I'm just like, dog, I'm just working. I'm just trying to sell some tickets. I'm just trying to put butts in seats. It's not personal. If it was personal, I'd tell you to your face backstage, like, yo, I don't like you.
Right. It seems like you understand that psychology, but can it be that maybe a lot of boys and girls that you share the locker room could be, I mean, a lot of journalists take one little snippet out of a whole conversation, and it gets twisted really quickly.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, again, that comes from like there's a line that you can walk up to and not cross. So like I'll never talk about somebody like I will make your mama jokes or whatever, but I mean in society or whatever that's pretty much accepted. But I'm never gonna like wish death on anybody in your family. I'm never gonna wish death on your dog or anything like that. I'm never gonna cross that line to where it's like, okay, this is like personal. But I am gonna poke fun at you. I am going to make fun of you because that is my character.
Yeah, I mean that's the point of it too, and I think you're right with the way you say that too. Is Twitter? I mean, we just seen a prime example of it with Drew McIntyre. I'm using him because he's utilized Twitter in that sense, where if he's not even on TV, he's continuing what's going on by just being on the internet. And I think
being
that's
a hater,
right? You got to do it.
Yeah, you have to do it. And like even some of the like guys that have been wrestling a little bit longer than me, like we have these conversations like, yeah, man, I got to get on there. I got to do more, with social media because like even if it's not in the relation to a match, like I've gotten way better about it, like not going back and forth with wrestlers about stupid shit on social media because there's no point. If we're not gonna have a match, why are we going back and forth? But like a lot of guys will they won't do anything, and then like we'll talk and they'll be like, oh yeah, I have to do something more. Like it doesn't have to be every day, but you need to do something because that allows you to build community on social media. Like I may not ever have millions of followers. Maybe I will one day. We'll see. But like the followers that I do have, like there's a community there. There's an understanding there, and we're all here to have a good time.
Fair enough. A couple questions here. Your finishing move is the Mark of Kane. Your signature move is the Olympic suplex. Now, the Mark of Kane, did you come up with that? Did somebody come up with it? Like the name itself? Like
the name itself was given to me. What was his name? It'll come to me. James something. James something. I can't remember it right now, but it was at a promotion in Alabama called Pro South. And I remember I wrestled a match, and I think I finished the guy with a spear. I got to the back, and he was like, "If you're gonna call yourself the Suplex Assassin, why isn't your finisher a suplex?" And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Why isn't it a suplex? So I went. I had all the other suplexes or whatever, but I needed something that was like different from the other ones. And I came across the what Drew Gulak would call the Southern Light suplex, which is a head curve. Well, you know the move or whatever because it's the Mark Kane. The James guy, he was like, well, you have Kane and Abel because initially the Ripcord Olympic Slam was called Abel's Sacrifice, but that didn't catch on. So the finish move is the Mark of Kane. So it's kind of biblical, so it makes sense. I'm gonna have to bring back Abel's Sacrifice as a name.
I think it's time because it just flows like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Story wise, it's right there.
Yeah. Well, the Mark Kane is one of my finishers. The other one is the Fade to Black, and that's the choke that I beat most of the guys that I beat on my world title win.
Fade to Black is a beautiful thing. The Suplex Assassin is your moniker, obviously, and I know it's a stupid question, but I have to ask it. Did you get it from somebody, or is it just something you self?
That's something that I came up with myself. I was playing one of the 2K games. I think it was like 14, I think, or maybe it was 16. Doesn't matter. And I was creating myself, and I saw Assassin, and I'd always like when I first started training, like I wanted to do suplexes because I have a freestyle wrestling background. So I wanted that to be somewhere in there, but I couldn't be the suplex machine. whatever, because that's too close. That's too close to Taz. That's also too close to the wrestling machine. So like I was just like sitting with Suplex, but like what am I gonna put with Suplex? And I'm playing this game. I'm going through the little list of nicknames or whatever, and I see Assassin. I was like, Suplex Assassin. That sounds cool. I did my little Googles, made sure nobody else is a Suplex Assassin. I was like, we're gonna run with this. We're gonna see what happens. And the rest is pretty much history. But yeah, I came up with it myself.
I love that. It's like you can tell people you're going to go through TSA to get out of the way.
Yeah.
All right. So you're a gamer. You still a gamer?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you like to play nowadays?
I am heavily on the First Descendant. I think it's a free to play. I play it every day I can.
That's on Xbox, right?
Yes, on Xbox. Yeah.
Yeah, I just heard about that game. I'm a PlayStation guy, but I have Xbox as well. Other than that, what games do you fall on? Like WWE's 2K series and stuff?
I was playing NBA 2K a lot, but the game started to kind of run together and it started to be the same. I do buy the WWE 2K game every year just to play the My Career or My Rise, whatever the fuck they're calling it these days. I bought this year's game simply because I know the guy who wrote the mail story, wrote the entire thing. And he told me oh, it's gonna be so good or whatever, and it was good, but I had to see it for myself.
It really was good.
Yeah.
So you go home, 2K into hand, and did, or I don't know if you download it or you grab the actual physical, but immediately you're going in and creating yourself, right? Like that has to be the
Yes.
thing.
Yes. I create myself, I create my entrance, and then I create my moveset.
Who's your biggest rival in the 2K games as yourself?
As myself, I always try to make my rival Roman Reigns, especially now. Yeah.
I love that. You a Fortnite player at all, like stuff like that? I know a lot of people are.
No, I'm not. I'm not against playing Fortnite or anything like that. I'm the battle royale games give me so much anxiety because there's so much going on or whatever. You could you just get capped, just standing there, you're about to go do something. Blah! You're done.
Yeah, I don't like the games either. I'm too old for that now. So you've partnered with Matt Riddle. What was that experience like?
That was really cool. We wrestled. We did a real Memphis style match because it was on the night. It was fifth. It was the last match. It was the main event of the entire card or whatever for that night. And they had seen everything. So we went out there and we wrestled the most Memphis match that we possibly could put together. And most of that match was entrances anyway.
How long have you been wrestling now for?
6 years.
6 years. And in that 6 years, what's the biggest piece of advice you've received from somebody, whether they're a legend in the business and maybe some guy that's right the same age as you? Like
the biggest piece of advice, it was from Adam Cole. I sat in on a seminar that he did at Evolve, and he was talking about it was Adam Cole and Tommaso Ciampa. Adam Cole basically said when coming up with a character or persona, it doesn't need to be, everybody else doesn't need to think that it's cool. You need to think that it's cool, because if you think that it's cool, then you can communicate that to everybody else watching you about how cool it is. And then Tommaso Ciampa said when you are trying to find a character, don't look within wrestling, because everything in wrestling has already been done. Look outside of wrestling. Look at comic books. Look at TV shows. Look at movies. Look at all of these things, and find a character. It can be the main character, be a side character. It doesn't matter. Find something that resonates with you, and try it out. Throw it at the wall. That's what all wrestling is. You're just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Fair. So where do you draw your biggest inspiration from as your character?
Yeah, so like I said before, I'm inspired by Fred Hampton. He was a civil rights activist. Huey P. Newton was the same. And then it's outside of I guess political figures. Chad Ochocinco, Terrell Owens, Brian Dawkins, Clubber Lang, Deion Sanders. Who else? Yeah, those would be my inspirations as far as outside of wrestling, but also within entertainment.
I love that. I apologize there. My webcam became unplugged. Moving feet around is not ideal. Okay, so I've asked that. Now, what is the biggest advice you can give to someone working the independent scene right now, given the fact that you're 6 years deep in now?
Oh, biggest advice is travel. Like hop in a car, like especially if you're not like being booked super consistently, like you like make friends, make connections, network, and hop in a car with somebody that's going to a show and go help out. Always bring your gear. Always bring your gear because you never know what could happen. But that's how you open doors for yourself. You go, you help set up, you network, stuff like that. One of those times you hop in the car with somebody that could mean that you get a match. You get a small little payday. But yeah, traveling is the biggest thing. A lot of guys get caught up in being the best in their state or being the best in a region or whatever. And like, unless being in your state, has unless the promotion has like the promotion of a couple other promotions have like this massive reach where a bunch of people can see you on the mainstream of the independents, then you need to get to those places where a lot of people are watching that product, because there's so much great talent in the States, but so many of those wrestlers just stay in one spot and expect, a WWE or an AEW to see them and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna sign this guy. Like, no, you gotta make yourself visible.
Right. So that leads to my next question. Respectfully to both companies, let's say you get a phone call tomorrow from Triple H, you get a phone call tomorrow from Tony Khan. They're both offering you whatever the amount is. What company are you signing with just based off where you are at in your career right now?
If I wasn't under contract, because I am under contract with MLW right now, but if I wasn't under contract or whatever, and I got a call,
hypothetical here, right?
Hypothetically, probably WWE. I love AEW, for its own things, but I feel like every kid wants to be a WWE superstar. So if I ever got that chance, to go to NXT or whatever, and be a WWE superstar, I'm taking that.
Okay. People you've talked to that aren't fellow wrestlers and not your colleagues, of course, what is the biggest comparison you get, like, to a wrestler? Like, who do they say you remind them of?
People that aren't wrestlers or people that are wrestlers?
So, like me, for instance, I'm coming to you and be like, oh, you remind me of so and so. Like, you get that a lot, or that's not a thing? Maybe that's just the way I think sometimes.
I get that a lot, but the comparisons I get don't make any sense. Like people always compare me to Big E. They compare me to Will Hobbs. Yeah, those are the not of non-wrestling people or whatever, but they know like some mainstream stuff. Those would be the two that I get the most comparisons of. As far as like wrestlers go, I get fucking CW Anderson last night. We were putting our fucking tag match together, and he was like, "So like your whole gimmick is like you're kind of like Taz but safe," and I was like, "Yeah, that's actually an accurate comparison. I'm like Taz but safe."
That I love that the whole but safe part was added to that.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Oh, that's crazy. So I've seen you on TikTok. Now, do you pay attention to a lot of the IWC's content on there?
I lately not really. Now I just kind of like scroll, see stuff, post my own content. But there was a point in time where I was like trying to like I guess like be in the IWC or whatever. But like some of the stuff that they fucking go on about, it's just like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, oh my God, like the people bitching and moaning about crowd size and venues and oh, this place shouldn't do this because they can't do that. I'm just like, dog, shut up. Just watch the wrestling.
Yeah, Wrestle Talk is a very toxic place. I used to be a part of it, and I'm glad I'm not anymore because, Jesus, like you said, the crowd size doesn't matter. For a lot, like, I know you'll understand this. Maybe I understand it a little bit more than I give myself credit for too, but the crowd size doesn't matter. You guys will wrestle in front of 2 people. It's not why you're doing it, right?
It's not even that, honestly. It's not even that. For AEW or even WWE, because every company ends up tarping off sections of an arena or whatever. It happens. You're not always going to sell out. It's not about whether you wrestle in front of 1 person or 3,000 people. It's for TV. The bulk of the money that you're making is not from ticket sales or whatever. It is from your TV deal or your streaming deal or whatever. That's where most of the money is being made. So like packing out an arena isn't as important now. Like, yeah, it looks cool. It looks cool, for the people at the show watching, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Like nobody cares. You're still making money off of this TV deal. You're making the bulk of the money off the TV deal. And there, hundreds of millions of thousands of people are watching from home. That's what matters. The in-house shit, it doesn't matter.
Fair enough. So judging off that, if you could tell Wrestle Talk and the IWC anything, what would it be?
Man, enjoy, like, I feel like the IWC, y'all watch wrestling wrong. And it sounds weird to say, but like, and I don't want to be like, oh, back in my day, but like truly back when I was watching wrestling, when I was y'all's ages, a lot of y'all's ages, because a lot of the IWC is young, and some of them are my age, but still, I'm watching these characters or whatever. I'm getting wrapped into these stories. I'm not focused on how people are booked. I don't care. I didn't even know the word book. I didn't know that there was a booker or whatever. I thought everything that was going on when the Monday Night Raw pyro went off or whatever's going on happened because, this wrestler, wanted it to happen. I didn't know that, this show was plotted out or anything like that,
Right.
I feel like a lot of wrestling fans in the IWC, they know too much. So like they actively ruin it for themselves. Like I don't want to hear that, oh, Cody Rhodes' reign has been, it hasn't been as great as you wanted it to be or whatever. Don't worry about that or whatever. Worry about the defenses that he is having. Worry about the stories that he is having. I don't want to hear about, oh, you think he should be booked like this. You guys aren't bookers. Like as easy as some people think booking is, it's 10 times harder. It is 10 times harder because bookers are essentially like they're just trying shit. They're trying shit and see what works. If it works, we stick with it. If it doesn't work, we throw it away. It's hard as fuck, especially for like a WWE or an AEW where they're having to write weeks of fucking television, sometimes in advance or sometimes the day of. The shit is difficult. Cut people some slack. And also quit critiquing wrestlers on their in-ring ability. Stop it. Wrestling is hard as fuck. It's probably the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. It's very, very difficult. And unless you've actually done it, you're not going to understand that. So if a wrestling fan's like, oh, this person sucks at wrestling or whatever, they're just so bad. I'm like, they don't suck or whatever. Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody's not. John Cena wasn't, God's gift to wrestling out the fucking gate. He had to learn. He had to get better. He had to take that time. Triple H wasn't God's gift to wrestling out the gate. He had to learn. He had to take time. He had to put those hours in. Let people cook, but stop worrying about people's in-ring ability. Worry about the story being told. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, I had this conversation recently with a friend of mine who's not really a wrestling fan, but they were asking why I was interested in it. And it made me pause for a second because I was like, I don't know why I'm interested in it because I was literally attacking product. because, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that. And then I step back, and I have younger children. I have 4 children, 2 of which actively watch wrestling with me. And WrestleMania was a prime example of this. Watching my daughter pop when Cody won. The childhood innocence of watching wrestling reminded me that's where I need to go and enjoy what I'm watching. Don't worry about all the crap happening. Just enjoy it. So that's crazy.
Watch it again. Like, more people need to watch wrestling like you are a child and not as an adult. If you watch it like an adult or whatever, you're going to be thinking about logic. I mean, there's still logic in professional wrestling, but sometimes some things are illogical or whatever. In the adult mind, but in the child's mind, it's like, oh, why did that happen and shit like that. You're still asking like these whys, and but like as a kid, like wrestling's just so much more magical. So turn off the adult brain, turn on the kid brain, and enjoy what you're watching. And if you're not enjoying that, watch something else. There is so much wrestling like going on right now in this era. It's insane. Like, this is the best. I think this is the best shape wrestling has ever been in like the last 25 years or whatever. You have WWE, you have AEW, you have TNA, you have MLW, you have NWA, you have all of the Japanese companies have always existed or whatever, but they're hotter than they've ever fucking been.
They're more mainstream.
You have all the mainstream wrestling, you have all the indie wrestling, you have all the in between. There's so much wrestling out there. Find something that you enjoy and watch that. But like this constant hatred of, oh, they should do this or they should do that. They shouldn't do any of that or whatever. They should do what, the shareholders in the book and the writers and ultimately the bookman or whatever wants them to do, and go on through that. Everything that goes on a wrestling show is not for everybody. It's a variety show. There's something for everybody, but everything isn't for everybody, if that makes sense.
That's the perfect analogy right there, is that it is for everybody, but there's something for everybody.
Yes.
It's not every segment's not going to line up to the way you want to see it.
Exactly.
Biggest dream opponent?
I'm still holding out for Shelton Benjamin. It could happen. But that's one I'm holding out for.
I love that. That would be a great mix of styles. Biggest accomplishment outside of wrestling?
Deadlifting 500 pounds? Beltless?
That's insane. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
What would you do if you weren't a professional wrestler?
Oh, man. If I wasn't a professional wrestler, I'd probably be... I'm studying right now to become a personal trainer, so that's probably what I would do if I wasn't a professional wrestler.
That makes the most... I think that makes sense given the way you are as a person. Being a personal trainer, you're motivating. I love that. You're for the people, so we're here for you. All right, Alex, I've asked all the questions I have, but I got to know, and what is your go-to meal before a match?
I don't eat nothing before wrestling. I mean, actually, no. Now I'll have like a small like sandwich or something like that, just so like I have something in me. But as far as a meal goes, I would not eat a full meal before I wrestle. Like, one, don't want to look bloated. 2, don't need any kind of accidents or anything like that. Yeah. So if I'm gonna eat anything, it's after I wrestle. And after I wrestle, it could be anything. It could be Waffle House. It could be wings. It could be, tacos. It could be, anything that's anything that feels like a reward.
Okay. You brought it up, and I have to ask, have you ever had an accident in the ring?
No.
Have you ever given someone an accident in the ring?
I have not. Thank God. That'd be terrible.
I don't know how I'd handle that if that happened, though, either.
I don't know how I handle that shit either. I don't know how CM Punk had that happen. How they handled that. Not imagine.
All right, Alex, I want to thank you for your time and showing up on Spotlight with Shadow. while you're still here, go ahead and plug everything you got coming up, dates, whatever you got to plug. Go ahead, man.
I will be at Forever Pro this Friday, and I will also be at See No Evil Wrestling on that Saturday. Following weekend, I will be at TWE in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I want to say October, what is it? The next MLW show is in St. Pete, but I need to know the actual date. Where are we? Hold up. October 4th, we will be in St. Pete. I will be wrestling Contra, two members of Contra. One of those being Minoru Suzuki and Akira Kwan. I think I said his name right. I probably butchered it. I'm sorry. You know we're friends. I'll be wrestling them with Mr. Thomas. You can find me on Twitter at Alex_Kane11, on TikTok at the same handle. Instagram is the Suplex Assassin. YouTube, my matches are on there, and please go watch those. Brainbuster Tees is where my merch is. MLW Shop is also where some merch is. Run up the bag. Buy some merchandise. Lots of good stuff out there.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll say it, and I always say it. Support your indie friends. Make sure they know that you love them and you're showing them that support, because they're not the big guys on WWE TV that you're throwing your hundreds of dollars at. They're the guys that are still doing it for the love of what they're doing it for. So with that being said, I am Shadow. This is Alex. This has been Spotlight with Shadow.